Civic space, citizen participation. Module 2, a role of citizens' movements in consolidation of democratic gains. The journey of citizens' movements started during Africa's self-rule democratic system, models where citizens' movements organize themselves to challenge the injustice and organize themselves through holding each other accountable on the sets of rules that they put for themselves in terms of their self-rule. Anyone who comes in conflict of this set of rules or had conflict within themselves, they kind of use democratic means to sort out the differences and the challenges or conflict between societies. One need to highlight some of these groups began as citizen movements or civic movements, trade unions, farmer associations. Eventually we are turned into armed resistance groups, and later we are turned into political parties. These political parties have been instrumental in the governance system of the continent in different countries. Some of them have been ruling for a while, their parties. The CCM of Tanzania could be named, the ANC of South Africa, and many others can be named in terms of how these movements, have been still in existence in different forms as a political party. African citizen movement led the struggle for Africa's liberation, hence the principle of democracy across Africa. On the continent's new democratic, democratization or democracy that have been championed by the West. We've seen citizen movements, doing a lot of work around the struggle of liberation of Africa, and they have been, pushing for democracy, and certain that people are governed based on democratic principles that, bring equality in society. We are witnessing citizen movements continue to hold governments and leaders accountable to respect democracy and rule of law. The formation and the emergence and the advancement of citizen movements is very prominent and visible now across Africa, where citizen movements, move themselves together, work themselves together to really hold governments accountable, to really hold leaders accountable, and then sometimes, risk their lives in many instances that they face the brutal nature of security forces and of some formations that they don't want to see anybody or any formations challenging them. So they go through a lot of oppression. Many of these citizen movements have won fights against brutal dictatorship, but as well against corrupt regimes. And some of these movements, could be, or struggles that we've seen that have bear fruit. Could we recall the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa? A lot of formations of movements fought against apartheid in South Africa. The famous Arab Spring, young people in the North Africa region, fought against brutal dictatorship and called for democracy and called for rule of law, and then occupy center squares, city squares to demand for change. Consistent protests led to changes in the North Africa region in many countries. The Ballet Citoyen of Burkina Faso is another example of citizens' movement, fighting against dictatorship. Citizens mobilize themselves, to sweep the president out of his palace, who have been a very brutal dictator. So the formation of this citizens' movement, and then the courage, the self-confidence that they have in them, bring a lot of change in different parts of Africa. Recently, the Gambia Gambia have decided collective of movements coming together to fight against the 20-year brutal dictatorship. Gave birth to what they call the New Gambia. A lot of challenges of brutal dictatorship have been fought collectively, with a very common agenda and common messaging. Gambia have decided. The Lucha movement in DRC Congo, coming together with other movements to fight against dictatorship regimes in DRC, gave birth to a new democracy. Gave birth to an opposition winning an elections in DRC. But the forces of movements working with like-minded citizens, help bring change faster. But again, one could recall the Sudan we want struggle that Sudanese, have been living with brutal dictatorship for so many years. But when they came together and said it's enough, they consistently organized protests across the country, led by young people, led by women, to fight for them. Nobody will fight for them, but they believe that they have to fight for themselves. And eventually kick out one of the longest serving brutal dictators in Africa. All the gens are not still signing very nice, because they still continue to struggle to have a holistic and wholesome civic rule. But the gens are really appreciated, and then one need to mention. Again, one need to mention the very recent Youth for Parliament, leading the struggle of bringing down, a president who have not been very much democratic, and who have been termed as have not been open, and have been oppressing a lot of oppositions and his opponents. Young people really mobilize themselves in formations like Youth for Parliament, asking for people to vote, and then bring down the end of leadership of the president through elections. These are great gains that African civil society or citizen movements have did, and then many of them are young people and women who have been leading this process. Just naming the few. It is important to state that there is an increased formation of youth-led, young people-led, citizens, leaderless movements that helps to build solidarity among individual activists and movements across Africa who are fighting for democracy and good governance. There is an increased force in terms of that mobilization, that unification, that togetherness, that solidarity between young grassroots movements in that formation. They are leaderless, and they're bringing change, because they work on common agendas, and they coordinate themselves through social means and the use of social media. And they have been very effective in bringing change, because the governments are not having the tactics, or the opponents or the oppressors are not having the tactics, to bring them down, because normally they can shut you down when you are known that you are the leader. So, but leadership movement formations is difficult to target one person, and this formation is really working across Africa. The reorganizing of new formations of African continental-wide led organizations and movements like Africans Rising create hope and support mechanisms to citizens' movements to take sustained action and bring sustainable change, at grassroots levels without reinventing the wheel. We've seen the support and technical support and expertise that have been given by some of these continental-led organizations or movements like AfricTivistes, like Africans Rising, and many of their natures, who have been supporting and giving technical support, sometimes financial support, to these movements to really organize themselves to be able to do bring effective change. So it is critical for one to summarize that citizens' movements have been fundamental and instrumental in bringing and advancing democracy across Africa. To summarize, good people. You've seen that we have talked about. We have teach you around the formations of citizen movements and their contribution to sustaining and maintaining democracy across Africa and good governance. We've seen the fights and the struggles led by Africans, but led by the citizen movements. We've seen the gains and the successes that many of these movements have made. We've seen, we talked about, the new formations and then reorganizing of this movement, and then the solidarity that they give to each other in terms of advancing their cause that makes them bring social change faster and better in their societies. But again, we also seen the formation and the re-emergence of these continental-wide movements that are supporting and giving technical and financial support to movements, grassroots movements, not reinventing the wheel, but also giving them the journey and supporting them in the journey of bringing change in their communities. To learn more in this process, in this journey, click on the map link below, and then get to read and learn more about, or just to listen and learn more about this module. I invite you to the next module, module 3, in the civic space and citizen participation course.